so now we are ready to start adding some color. So if you followed along with the first video, this is going to just give you some more information on adding in that color. So if you have made any of these non-destructive layers and you're completely happy with them and you don't need to see any changes done, this is the time when we're going to merge our layers. So when we start adding our colors don't get affected by these non-adjusted layers, okay? So let me show you what happened if I did not change or I did not merge these layers, okay? So in order for me to add color and still see all of my black outline for this drawing, I'm actually going to go up here. This is called your layer blending modes here, okay? So you don't really see a lot of change right now because we don't have a background on here and it isn't just black and white. But as you can tell, you have all these little different settings. So for this particular project, we're going to go to multiply, okay? And then I am going to create a new layer and I'm going to make sure that layer is underneath here. So watch this. Changing my foreground color to be red, okay? And then I am simply going to take a brush tool, okay? And from this brush tool, I am going to paint on the inside of his lips. Oh my God, it's not red, it's black. But the reason that is because of these non-destructive layers. So anytime you do anything that is underneath these adjustment layers, it's actually going to put that same effect on every single layer. We can't just simply move it up because now I can't see my black outline, all right? So that's just the reason I wanted to show you why we need to do this. So I'm just going to throw this layer away. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my very bottom layer, and then I'm also going to hold down the shift and click on the very top layer. In my layers panel, underneath our little stock icon, I'm going to click here. And instead of saying flatten, I'm going to say merge layers. Okay. Merge layers is going to actually put them together, but it's not going to flatten it. So I can still make some changes on this. Okay. So if I was just to flatten it, when I flatten it, it would lock the layer and it would let me not do any editing on it. We all know we can unlock it, but merging would be important to understand and learn for future projects. So I got one layer here. So now I'm going to start adding color. So I'm going to go back up to my blending modes. I'm going to make sure that is multiply. I'm going to go down here to my little paper icon, which is going to give me a new layer. So some people use this, or you can also click up here and say new layer. And I also think you can right click, could be totally wrong, but nope, you can right click and you can also get some settings and some options there as too. Okay. So here's my layer. I've set the blending mode to multiply, and now I can add my color. So why do I want to make colors on layers versus just adding my colors straight onto my Zentangle? Okay, so being that it's on a layer, if I do something that I do not like, I can throw this away. We've all learned how we can name our titles, okay? We also learned how to make groups. I can go down here and make a group, okay? I can call it, I can put anything that I am doing on his face in these folders here, okay? Right. So now let's say I'm going to go into some detail here. So I'm going to zoom in. I just did Control plus to zoom in. I hold down my Shift button to actually grab my hand tool and move it around. You can also use your hand tool right here on your Tools panel if you cannot remember to hold down your Shift button when you're trying to move anything. So let's say I'm going to start adding color here. Okay, so this dude, for some reason, he has 4 eyes. So I'm totally going to give him some kind of weird looking orangey eyes because to me, he doesn't look like he belongs here. And I'm going to take my brush, okay? Before I do anything, I'm going to make sure I'm on that eye layer, okay? And then from here, I can change the hardness of my brush and the size of my brush. Okay? So let's say I'm going to do something along this line. And I am going to give him a little bit of color inside his eyes. Okay. Now, my brush is a little big, so the orange is spilling out of my outline. But that's cool. Okay. So there's my orange. Two things. I can go up here. I can get my eraser tool from my toolbar. I can either use it as a block, I can use it as a brush, or I can use it as a pencil. And then I can also change the size of that in our option bar, right? So I could go here and go, well, I really need it a little bit more smaller. So from here, I can erase this. Now, you can tell that the pencil tool gives me a very hard edge. So if I change it to a brush, it will actually smooth it out so it won't have those hard edges. That's a kind of eraser that I usually prefer. Right? And I'm just going to go in here and make sure that I am getting in really tight and close and getting rid of any of that color that might have escaped those outlines. Okay. I'm going to get rid of those. So basically, we're coloring in Photoshop, okay, guys? Voila. So we all know too that, hey, this dude really needs to have some white in his eyes. Yes. Okay. So that's not a problem as well. If you want to enhance and you want to add some features to your drawings, you can do so. So now what I'll do is I'll make me another layer. But this time I don't want this layer because I'm going to add some white to his eye. I don't really want that to have an outline or be behind this black. So I'm going to move this layer on top. From here, I'm going to grab my brush. I'm going to go back down here to my foreground color, and I'm going to change that to, I'm saying he's not from this planet or he's a little bit different. So I'm going to give him red pupils, and basically I am going to drop that color right on top of each eye. Okay. Now, that's on every single layer. So it's pretty bold and it pretty much stands out. So maybe I name this. And from here, I can actually play with the blend modes. See if it will give me any kind of different results. So I'm going through them. You can see it changes a little bit, but not too much. Right? So I don't really care for any of those blend modes. So the next thing I can do is I can play with the opacity of that red mark. Okay. And I can also go to my toolbar if I'm not happy with it. And I can use the blend tool or the smudge tool or the blur tool. And oh, right now you see my brush is very huge. I can make it a little bit smaller. And I could go in here, and as you can see, it is blurring that particular eye. So it's maybe not as sharp. Okay. Again, I can change the hardness of that brush. Giving me a little bit more. Okay. This way it kind of blends a little bit better with my drawing. Okay. Next, really think by me adding a little bit of a white to it, it's going to enhance his eyes. So this time we're turning on down the hardness and just a little dot of white in his eyes. Now it might be a little bit too small, so I just Control V'd it. Right? Zoom around so I can see how that looks. Yes, he is looking like he does not belong here. I'm going to change the opacity of this. And I can also, as long as I do not have my auto select on, I can actually move these a little bit. I want to usually use with my mouse. I actually use my keyboard. And there we have it. We have a little bit more eye details. Okay, so going back to my face, adding me another layer. I'm gonna call this lips. Okay, I'm gonna find me a color. All right. I am using someone's artwork, so I apologize for really giving you a whole different look on this. But so from here, I'm going to take this blue color that I chose. All right, and then I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to give him a little bit of blue lips. All right, maybe his top lip is blue. Right, and then now maybe I want to change. Well, let's make it a little bit more of the same. Now, if I have my color picker up here, okay, and I wanted to select a color that I've already used before, you see the little eyedropper now that becomes my mouse? I can click anywhere on my canvas, and it's going to move that color in my color picker. So, I know I wanted something there, but I want to say in the same tone. It'll stay there as I move my colors. Okay, you see how it's going to give me that same type of hue, but just with a different color. Okay, so it kind of helps you match out a little bit. So now I'm going to do this bottom lip in green. Okay. And then I am simply going to go back here to my blur tool and kind of blur these two together. I can also use my smudge tool, right, to kind of enhance how these two go together. Okay. Not have a hard line. Right? Okay, so now let's say, ooh, look, I don't really kind of like that. So I can just go back up to my original drawing, go back to my spot healing brush, change the size of it, and then come in and remove the areas that I don't really like. Okay. Also go back into my lips, grab that eraser, and make sure I know that color is extending outside of my lips. We just want to make sure he knows how to put on his lipstick. Right. So voila. Now I have eyes and I have lips, and I'm going to continue to keep adding color to this particular project. So make you some layers, make you some groups to help you keep organized. Again, make sure you are not adding color to this particular background, your main sketch. Will Photoshop let you do this? Totally will. Okay. But once you do something, it's not going to let you get rid of it. As simple. Okay. It does make anything that has an outline very easy to paint. Okay. But if I decide that I do not like that yellow color, it's not as easy to get rid of because now it's on my main layer. So make sure that you are doing everything within a layer. If you want your black outline to show, you're going to make sure that it is underneath your main layer. If you're adding new features and new things to your drawing, like I did with his eyes, you can make sure that that is above. So don't forget, each layer you can also double click on and use your layer styles to give it some features here. All right, if you do not see everything, then you can also say show all effects, and all of these options will come up here. Okay, so have fun with it. Color your Zentangle, and the next video that I show you will actually be what we're going to do next to get this onto your collage background. Okay, so let me know if you have any questions.